first off, I just have to tell you, congratulations on this beautiful series. Um,
Thank you.
I truly loved it, and it felt so honest to me, which is the mark of great storytelling and something
Thank
we
you.
need more of on screen. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that you enjoyed it, and it does seem to be like touching people, and that's really it's really gratifying. I didn't really expect it, or I didn't know what that's like to get that feedback, but it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, well, speaking of honesty, I'd
Mhm.
love to first know, how did honesty not only play a part in your creative process, but also help you to heal through art?
Well, yeah, so I want to say like honesty is the absolute it's like the central piece of the healing. Why? Because without the honesty, you can't fix anything you haven't acknowledged as broken, you know? And broken's a strong word. You can't adjust something that is maybe because here's what happens when you have like a tough childhood or circumstances. It doesn't really matter. Everybody's coming out of their family of origin with stuff. Everybody, because we're talking about human beings. Parents are humans, and humans are flawed. So it's a given
Exactly.
that, yeah. So it's a given that something, not every single thing went perfectly well. So whatever those remainders are, in order to, they will either, it's almost like my visual is always like when a tire is off and
Mm,
it's going to pull you in a certain direction. If your tire isn't calibrated well, it's going to pull you off into the next lane or off the road or whatever. So your life will be just slightly off the road in certain ways. And in order to start getting things back in line, you have to acknowledge, oh, I think I might be off the road here. And in order to do that, you're going to have to get honest. So
yeah.
honesty is everything.
Yep. And I think too, sometimes along the toward the journey of being honest with yourself, we can think we're being honest, but we have to dig deeper, and that's a whole other journey. And I think a big part of that is getting in touch with your inner child, which you do so beautifully in this series. And it's so easy for us to kind of dismiss or ignore that inner child, but she or he like needs our attention. And can you talk to me about incorporating, little Paige in this story and why that was so important for you?
Well, I think I was just telling this story, like, when you're in therapy, you do start to learn like the inner child, right? Or, I mean, that's like in the culture now. Everybody knows we all have an inner child, but what's your relationship to that inner child? And as I got into a more like a closer relationship with her, and I started to listen to what she was saying, that was like a huge step forward in my overall healing, is like keeping her in mind.
Yeah.
And then one thing that really helped me, and this was especially in dating, was what did she think of this person? And then you start to see her as an actual person. Like if I had a 7-year-old me, a 7-year-old daughter, would I put her in the care of this human being?
Yeah.
And when you start asking that question, it doesn't matter. Pretty soon, other considerations fall away. It doesn't matter how hot they are if they're like dangerous to this person,
Yeah.
this inner child, this little girl, and you start to see yourself as an actual 7-year-old, and you're like, oh, you start making way better choices for yourself in really every life area. So I feel like, and also there's a part of you that has that inner child wisdom that
Mhm.
knows parts of you that maybe you had to abandon in order to get along socially, or in order to function in the workplace, or in order to function in your family. You had to take certain parts of you and either put them off to the side, or you had to forward other parts of you that maybe are less who you really are. And your little girl, she knows everything that you really are. She knows who your authentic self is. So that became very useful. And I wanted to, of course, put that in the show because it's the central piece of the healing, truly. You know?
Yeah. I mean, when Carrie as Paige says, like, let me take care of you, like that was just such a I get chills thinking of it because what a big turning point for her. And I think that's really like the pathway to self-love is sort of acknowledging that inner child. Like, why would you be, to your point, that with dating, like you wouldn't be unkind to a 7-year-old little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you so, cruel to yourself?
Exactly.
And yeah, it was so brilliant. I also think too, as the show progresses, Paige kind of starts to embrace the messier side of life. I'm a Virgo, so I very much like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're all dealing with our perfectionism at all times, you know?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I can relate to that so much. And then we see though, like what you've gifted us, the audience, is that we see as it gets messier, it gets more beautiful, it gets more complex, it gets more imperfect, which is like, we see that the joy that comes from the mess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the magic is in the mess because what is the mess? I was reading this quote this morning that was basically like, not knowing is a really good thing. That's a great thing because when you don't know what to do, you don't go the wrong way. You're just sitting, you're like, okay, let me not know what I'm doing for a second. And then you can trust not knowing, just like you can trust knowing, you know? Getting into that relationship with yourself takes some work. So yeah, the Virgo thing is really interesting. I have a friend, she said to me once, she's one of my closest friends. She's like, oh, this is her tone. So she's a social worker. Has a master's degree. So she's basically a therapist, but she says to me, oh, I think you need to watch the perfectionism. Okay. And ever since then, that was like 15 years ago. And ever since then, I'm like, I think I need to watch the perfectionism. Because like sometimes it'll come in and then it'll make demands. And so I've had a pretty good, let's call it a messy practice. I've had a pretty good messy practice for 15 years now. And I let things, I don't ever think things need to be a certain way. Really, I don't. Because once you start to see that the certain way is so limiting, it's just like whatever your best thinking is. And I remember hearing this one spiritual teacher say, if you can imagine it, like your future or your job or the mate or whatever, if you can imagine it, that ain't it. Because
Yeah.
you can imagine is with your current mind. And if it's going to be past your current life, it's going to be past your current mind. So you just need to know, whatever it is, it's bigger than I can imagine. And that's going to mean you're not in control, that perfectionism is just control. So it's going to be past anything you can imagine. And what is perfectionism except exactly what I imagined? You know what I mean?
Oh, it is so true. I mean, the time wasted, like the time wasted, that's all
Yeah.
I'll say, like on everything that you just said. And it's just like, it's so true. Wow. You're very wise, Tracy. You're very wise. This is like a therapy. I'm like, should cancel my therapist for later because this is the work right here.
I mean, but that's who I am. That I'm just naturally doing that everywhere. It's annoying if you're really close to me.
I love it.
I've learned to turn it off a little bit.
Well, I think that's though what makes you such a brilliant storyteller because it's all connected. I mean, stories is the first time that I think we as humans start kind of recognizing all of the empathy. We start recognizing, the work that we then later as adults go to therapy for. And it's why it's so important for to see everything represented on screen because it can be so limiting and put us in such a vulnerable place if like we don't see that. Let's talk about that a little bit. What do you hope audiences walk away learning about, life after incarceration, because I think, and the ways in which families are affected by an unjust system, because it's a reality that is such a huge part of our society, but it has been either misrepresented or not represented at all on screen. You talk about that.
Well, I feel like I jokingly say I wanted America to fall in love with a career criminal, right? Because I feel like right now they imagine that a criminal is an other, like a totally separate person from anybody they've ever met. And what I wanted them to know is that actually, no, it's just like everyone you've ever met. Like my dad is just charming and lovely, and you would enjoy him if he was at your dinner party. So, and I think right in the current consciousness, social consciousness, we imagine that people who've been to prison are somehow otherized, they're in the margins. And what I wanted to do is take that, and their families. And here, one of the most fascinating things about doing press for this is how many people, journalists, people are just in all walks of everything. How many people have a story where one of their loved ones, their parent, their brother, their husband, their whomever, has been to prison? And you think, like, basically this is true and nobody's talking about it. And they're not talking about it because there's a stigma.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to take some of that away by just introducing you to these fun, cute humans, flawed, dignified, heroic humans that are also facing these circumstances.
Yeah.
And because I think that's so much of how we move forward in culture is through storytelling, like you said. I think about a show like Transparent, like would Caitlyn Jenner ever have transitioned and come out without Transparent? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because just for that one human being was able, and then now lots of human beings were able to like claim some part of their identity that they couldn't do before that show. Yeah. So that's just one example. There's so many examples of how stories shift our consciousness around certain, around ourselves, basically.
Yeah. So true. It's so true. And I think that's so interesting because like what your show does so wonderfully is kind of what Transparent did too, which is kind of to mix the light and the dark of life. And at the end of the day, it's just human. It's equal part heartbreak, equal part joy. It's life.
Yeah.
And setting that tone too, I think was such a powerful choice to tell your truth. And it creates, a safe place, I think, for these discussions to happen, for people to educate themselves. And it's so brilliant. And I'm sure you've been getting such outpouring of love and everything from the series. And it's wonderful. It's powerful.
Yeah. Powerful. I guess so. It's pretty great. I feel good about that part of it. And at the same time, I'm sort of like, I'm not really, I'm just in it, and I've been in Hollywood for a long time in the entertainment business, and I've watched people blow up or get their show on the air or get that success. And I've also watched a lot of them crash, in various ways. So, and I'm aware that there is this weird potential to like buy in to the love, or if you will. I'm with the powerful communication and effect on others. I'm dubious or circumspect about what's coming toward me personally, because I have been around long enough.
When you
That's what it really is. I'm like, let's just keep this modest because there's very little upside in buying into all that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
I want to stay very grounded so that I can continue to do the actual work.
You do the work, but I think, but what you've done, and no one could ever take that away, is to create conversation. Yeah. Which at the end of the day, that's the goal, that's the dream.
100%. I mean, that's my journalism background. I got a broadcast journalism degree in 1989, and I really have been working in mass media. Whatever, 1990, I got my first job. What are we in 2023? So whatever that is, it's a lot of years. I've been doing this 32 years. And so I know what I'm here for. I'm very clear. And like I have a purpose and I'm on it, and that's it. That's what really matters. And it's about, it incorporates storytelling and of all sorts, books, social media. So I'm just staying on purpose. And then even to go to the Virgo thing again, the true ruler of Virgo is Chiron. We're the wounded healers. So I have this wound and I use it and I help others heal. And that is really my purpose. And so,
my God, the things that we could talk about over a bottle of wine, the just two Virgos, because that was just like, whoa, I relate to that so much. The wounded healer. Wow. Yeah.
our highest self,
yeah.
that's our highest expression.
Mhm.
So,
True.
mhm.
Oh, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I'm just grateful for your purpose because, like I said, you're changing conversations and creating conversations. And I mean, to me, that's the epitome.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the future a little bit because we are Virgos. But you collaborated with, at the end of the day, this platform, CherryPicks, we're all about supporting and uplifting each other as women in this, what can be a crazy industry, a very joyful industry, a heartbreaking industry. And you worked with so many incredible women on this project. Yeah. What did that experience mean to you, and what excites you the most? Like if you and this group were to continue on this journey together.
Well, I'm excited and I feel very strongly that we will continue on this journey. I really do. We had a screening at Disney because we're in the Disney ecosystem.
Yeah.
At Disney, and we were all up there, the executive producer team, except Delroy wasn't there, but the executive producer team is all women and all mothers.
Oh.
And I was like, wow. And multicultural. And I'm like, that is really powerful because there was room to be a woman, there was room to be a mother. And I've certainly been in this business a long time where it's like the mother, it's not, it great, be a mom. We just don't want to see it or hear about it or have it impact your work at all. And so that to me was probably like one of the most special things. And everybody had your out, it's not even an outside life. It's your life is welcome on our world, in the world of Unprisoned, your life is welcome. I, as a person, so as an executive producer, I am here for the connection. Like being on set, I was on set virtually every day, virtually every minute. And I had people come up to me at the end and go, "This is the best set I've ever worked on." And I'm like, that's such a huge compliment to me because I am privileging the relationships first. Connection is first for me. And the work will come. Weirdly, I'm not a perfectionist at work at all. I don't think only I should be having opinions about stuff, even though it's quote unquote my show, and it's quote unquote my story. I know that it's like we are all connected. And if we can connect and we take advantage of each other's perspectives and each other's knowledges, it's going to be a better show.
Yeah.
And I know I can take it to here. I could pick every outfit. I could demand, I could work it in that patriarchal way where it's very top down, where I'm it's all me, people do that. I've watched it happen. Those sets are not fun. No. Those are not warm, secure. So the term in psychology would be secure functioning. Those are not secure functioning places, families to be in. And this is just a family of 120 people, and we're all trying to do this thing. So to me, it was all about the most special thing about having this executive producer team is that it allowed me to work the way I work best, which is very collaborative. And I want mutuality and sensitivity and fairness, which are all the principles of secure functioning. And I just want to bring that to my work. And I could do that, So the world needs more.
Yeah.
The world needs more connection. And yeah, so.
That's so lovely. Well, I can't wait for y'all to do it all over again together. Especially with that last episode, little like cliffhanger. I mean, come on, let's.
What's he gonna do?
Yeah,
I mean,
I need to know.
there's a part of me that I don't know yet.
Mm,
I mean, I suppose I know, but I also don't know yet. I'm willing to not know, like I said earlier. Like, it's okay. You don't have to know until the moment you know.
exactly. Exactly.
Um, and I feel like that because there's a lot of life that's going to come in between right now. I'm going to learn some things between what right now and when we go to shoot whatever is the next, episode 1, season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I want something. I always want something that is unexpected. That's what gets me when I'm watching TV. Is like when I see things that are thoughts that I've already had or thoughts I've already heard other people say. Teach me something, take me somewhere I haven't been, show me something I don't know. So, that's what I want the muse to do with me. It's like, show me something I don't know, and then I'll share it in the story,
Well, I think how fitting we started this conversation talking about honesty. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about now is like, it's that being truly honest with yourself, the work is better for it and it will come, and trusting that and trusting your collaborators and trusting yourself. And that's all part of it. And it's beautiful, Tracy. Thank you so much for your time today. This was so lovely. I feel like I learned so much.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you for having me.